bars in a rave. Man, I go hard, less than 10.
Hello and welcome to another TG podcast. It's your boy Dankoogs on the hosting duty, and I'm joined by my good friend Sean. Man, how you doing, man?
Yeah, all right, brother, man. All right, bro. We move, man. All good.
Yeah, we move, man. Yeah, boy, I don't even know what to tell you, man. Recording this slightly later than we normally do in the week. We thought it'd be better for us to wait for the Spurs game, so we have a bit more of a conversation around, some of the stuff we're seeing on the pitch, rather than just, talk about all of the same old transfer stories. There haven't really been too much real developments, I think, since we last spoke to you guys. On the Patreon side of things, we did do an Ethan Ranieri scouting piece. Quite eye-opening, if people kind of have some doubts as to what role he might take in the team this season, how many minutes he's going to get, whether he's going to be trusted. Maybe look into that, man, and kind of refamiliarize yourself with some of the talent, man, because that kid is super talented. Got a big future ahead of him, and really encouraged me for the upcoming season, watching some of the best bits and some of the worst bits as well on those tapes. So get locked in to that, as well as the scouting for all the other players that we've been linked to. So Shell, we want to get into it, yeah. So we did play Spurs today in a pre-season friendly, lost 1-0. What's your overarching thoughts having watched that game earlier today?
Yeah, some worrying trends that we've seen for a while continuing, essentially, right? It's not. I'm not doing a reactionary take to a loss. Obviously, we want to win, never want to lose the Spurs. It is what it is. But I can always take a defeat in pre-season if I'm seeing a lot of positive signs, a lot of positive upticks. But I think overall, my main concerns are that we talk about over reliance on the right hand side, still apparent. Non-existent left hand side, still apparent. Lack of threat overall in the attack, still apparent. So when I point to issues, this isn't me just being knee-jerk based on what I've seen across the 90 minutes. This conversations that we've been having over the last 12 sort of 18 months, and I'm seeing people online say, and we've been having the discussion in our group, right, about why would you expect anything different? We don't have any new attackers. Cool. And I take that point. That point is noted, but at the same time, new signings alone aren't going to change everything. Do you know what I mean? It's incumbent, and we've spoken about trying to find new solutions, trying to find new avenues, new ways of attacking, new ways of being a threat. That's just not based upon signing new players. It's about how can we evolve tactically? How can we evolve to be more of a threat? I've seen, I'd say probably one theme over the last 3 games I've seen is that we're more willing to go back to front a bit quicker, which I like. Hit quite a few diags over the top, balls over the top, which I like. But I think there needs to be more. I think the patterns of play and settle play are still a bit too predictable for my liking. We talk about the dreaded horseshoe, and I feel like that's really reared its head again in such a space. We know we like to funnel stuff out wide, but the wingers get doubled up on, which in theory should free up space for the 8s, but these 8s are crashing the box. We don't really have any space in the middle, so it just feels a bit far too predictable. Some of the patterns are too predictable. Everyone knows we're going to cross, but we've now signed a striker that isn't really known for his aerial ability. So I think that's, in a nutshell, I've waffled there, but just a quick snapshot of some of the frustrations that are not just apparent on this game, but have been apparent for a while. And whilst I think new signings will help, I think it's also incumbent on the manager to find new ways to make us more of a dangerous and dynamic threat overall.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because it's like, I think the main thing is that I kind of just want to go back to enjoying watching the team. Do you get what I mean? Fundamentally. And I feel like when like the games that I've seen so far in preseason, there have been, sort of halves when I've really enjoyed. And fundamentally, I think that's actually tied to when Zubimendi has been on the pitch. In this game, he wasn't for about 75 minutes. And I do agree with you. It looks like a bit more of the same. It was basically the lineup that we ended most of the season with the exception of, Kai Havertz being introduced instead of Mikel Merino and Christian Norgard instead of Thomas Partey. And I think it was really much of a muchness, right? The first half, thought we started kind of bright, put Spurs under a bit of decent early pressure in the first 6-7 minutes. I'm thinking, you know what? This looks like, we could be into something here, But then I think Spurs kind of settled in the match. And then from there, we basically huffed and puffed like we did for a number of games last season, right? And so, I don't want to over-index because, it is just pre-season, but I think it comes back to there are certain underlying feelings that people have when watching the team, or things that people have been watching pre-season trying to maybe gauge to see how we would look to address some of the concerns that we've had. And I think really from watching that, it kind of looks like we need these signings to really come in and have a massive impact. And whether or not that is going to happen remains to be seen. But I think the little bit of disappointment that I have is that you would want the manager to maybe show a bit more tactical flexibility in how we look to approach some of these games where we're faced with a deep block, a team that's not, because in that second half, Spurs really didn't come to play. They were happy to defend a 1-0 lead. And, I felt that we could have played that game. I think you said it in the group, Sean, for another 2 hours. And there was never really a period where we looked like scoring, which is what I think is the most disappointing thing. So, just to get onto the positives, was there any sort of standout performance for you, maybe in a positive light that you thought, yeah, they played well, or
Ben White. Ben White, I think, was the best and the sharpest player. It's good to see him back. I think he's looked sharp all pre-season. I think we've often spoken about, I think Timber's probably the better overall defender, but I think there's a bit more thrust in the final third when Ben White plays. I think obviously we see his relationship with Saka is automatic, but we also expect that, right? They played together for like the best part of 3-4 years, so they have that relationship, they have that understanding. And he looked the best player for me, like both defensively and offensively. You can take from that what you will from an offensive standpoint, but I think him being fit is a good thing. I think what I hope is that Timber comes back. Obviously, Arteta's comments were that he expects Kala, Gabriel, and Timber all to be fit for the start of the season, which is a positive, because I just think like it's always been a case of we've had Timber fit, Ben White injured, Ben White fit, Timber injured, right? We've never had them really both fit at the same time. And I think probably across the squad, you can disagree with me if you want, but I feel like that's probably where we're almost where it's almost even across the squad. We don't really have that level of competition across the squad, but I think at right back, you could on any given day choose Timber or Ben White, and I'd be okay with it, dependent on who we're playing. And that's ideally, just level of competition you'd like to raise across the squad. But yeah, no, I thought he was really good. I thought he looked really sharp. So hopefully, long may it continue. I think I can't remember who said it in the chat. They were like, you can often see when Ben White's fit, right? Like when he's not fit, he looks a bit laboured, he looks a bit sluggish, slow. But when he's fit, he's sharp, he's up and down, good engine. So yeah, I think he deserves the most props for me for this game.
Yeah, fair. I think that's really good observation about his fitness, to be honest, because he was, very much up and down loads in this game. And I think he probably was, like you said, our main source of creativity on the day, right? With a lot of those overlapping runs. And, personally, I would have liked to see a bit more from Saka in terms of taking on Jed Spence. I thought Jed Spence handled him quite well, and kind of the only times that we really got joy down that side was when Ben White was, overlapping. So, I think if he is back to, close to his best and back to full fitness, then, that is very much another string to our bow, especially in some of these games where we do face the deep blocks, right? So, definitely a great shout to point him out. Other than that, I actually thought Saliba played pretty well in the game. What did you think of Miles Lewis-Skelly's performance? Obviously, the goal kind of comes from him, I think, clearly being fouled, to be honest. But, he kind of ran into that avenue surrounded by four players, and then we see David Raya get lobbed. And so, I saw some criticism leveled at Raya as well, maybe about the pass selection. I'm not sure if I agree personally. I think fundamentally it's a foul, right? So
yeah, but it's also a tough one, right, in terms of apportioning blame. Firstly, it's a foul, but secondly, I guess, Raya did pass it into him, knowing that, he was surrounded by like 3-4 Spurs bodies. Now, the best players can take it in that position and take it under pressure and find solutions. We've said to Miles, a lot of the time he is very good at doing that. There are examples in this game of he took it under pressure, turned out and got us attacking, but it's a very high risk, high reward strategy. So it's more a case of Miles just needs to know when to pick his moments. So unfortunately, I think it was a foul, but unfortunately he got picked and they scored whatever. But it's good that he learned from it. You've got to remember he's still only 18, so he's got to make some of these errors to learn from and improve on. So it is what it is. Generally, I don't think Miles has been great, if I'm to be totally honest, this season. In pre-season, I don't think he's been great this pre-season. What we can put that down to, I'm not sure. Whether it's rust, whether it's he's just been a bit sloppy, whether it's maybe a combination of different factors. But yeah, I don't think he's been great. So I really hope he can, dust off that and, get ready. Season's coming in a few weeks, so we need him to be sharp. It will be interesting. I think this season he's less of an unknown quantity. People know what to expect now. People know what's coming, similar to Zinchenko. I think Zinchenko, when he first came, he was a bit of an unknown quantity, but second season teams knew he was going to invert. So teams were, double block in the middle, just make sure they're funneling that pass out wide. So we didn't really have as many line breakers from Zinchenko after that first season. And then he started to get abused defensively, right? So whereas obviously I think Miles is a bit stronger defensively, Kudus was tough. He had a couple moments, but he didn't really give much away, so fair play on the defensive side. But I think just in terms of his general overall game, though, I do think it needs to step up a level. And this is not to pick on him, but you're a first team player now, my son. So and we all rate you, we all believe in you, but when you're not playing well, you're going to get criticised for it. So I think he just needs to step it up a bit going forward.
Yeah, fair play, man. And I definitely agree with you that he's not necessarily looked super sharp in pre-season, but that's what we're hoping he gets out of his system, right? By the time the season starts. So the season starts in about 2 weeks. So yeah, fingers crossed that we see sort of the Skelly that we saw last season. I think it does need to be addressed that fundamentally the kid is not actually a left back. I think some of those, you can say if you want a player to take those risks, you don't necessarily want them doing that in the back line, because you can see that kind of thing can happen, right? You get dispossessed. We saw it against West Ham as well, didn't we? Where he got sent off on the halfway line as last man. And, that's kind of the risk that you take with the style of player that he is, right? And it's maybe, speaks to the fact that, yes, the guy is a midfielder by trade. I don't think a natural defender is choosing to dribble in that situation.
I just think it's what we asked them to do, though, right? Because we asked the same of Zinchenko. You're half defender, half midfielder. So the positives is that it can give us an overload in midfield. It's an extra body in there, but Yeah, I agree with you. It's a very high risk, high reward strategy. So we've seen it where it's worked really, really well, where he's inverted to make a double pivot. We've had those extra overloads. We've been able to pass through teams in midfield, but you've seen the drawbacks a couple of times, right? So yeah, he's got to learn from it, man.
Agreed, man. Agreed. And I think it's just one of those things that comes with the territory, right? So yeah, moving on to the attacking performance, and fundamentally for me, you see the lineup. You see Martinelli starting with Kai Havertz and Saka, and we kind of already know what two of those guys are going to serve up. And it leads me to this feeling that we're going to have to work really, really, really hard to be able to score a goal today. Saka's going to need to have a really good game up against Jed Spence. We're going to need Havertz to find his finishing boots, or Martinelli to ostensibly create something out of nothing, which we know he's not necessarily the best at, right? And so my main concern that I had last season is that I watch other teams, and it just seems like it's so difficult for us to score. Like, we cannot have a game where we play poorly and we score 3 goals. Do you get what I mean? Because our forwards just nailed it and hit it out of the park. Or, we can't play averagely and score twice. You get what I mean, right? It always feels like we need to have the perfect move for us to be able to score in open play, where we've completely sliced open a team through, 10 passes, this, that, and the other, or we need a set piece to score. And I just generally don't like that feeling, because that's obviously not the Arsenal that I've grown up. Like, there'll be so many games, when you were going to Emirates after we first moved in, there'd be so many games where it's like there's so much creativity and movement on the pitch that it's a matter of time before we score. And that's not to say that we didn't have those frustrating games against your Wigans, against your Boltons, against your Blackburns or whatever, where Sam Allardyce or whoever, Alan Kirbishley or someone like that will come and they'll stick their 2 banks of 4 and try and keep us out. But in those games, we would still create in abundance. And, it felt like, oh, wow, we really dominated. We had so many chances. But you look at this game, I think we had 9 shots in total in this match. The shoehorn football, there's no real penetration, there's no real threat coming from the team. And we just can't get these signings in fast enough, I think, is my conclusion. But, what are your thoughts generally then about this system, how we just look generally?
Yeah, I struggle, man. I struggle because there are times where it feels like we're very much a game state dependent. Like, the game state has to be in our favor, and that's when we maximize and get the most out of it. But it feels like we struggle when the game gets away from us. We sometimes struggle to wrestle it back. We sometimes struggle when the game is end to end. It feels like all the chips need to be in our favor, and I struggle with that, because in life, in just past football, you're not always going to have control over situations, so you have to be able to be adaptable. To your point, it's rare that Arsenal have like a bad game, like we played shit, but we still managed to score 2-3 goals. I think that's where, I'll be honest with you, I have to give someone like Liverpool credit, because I can see Liverpool get outplayed, but they had the firepower to just nab, and it looks like they're trying to double up on that firepower anyway. Because for me, the reality is you're only ever as good as your attack. You can coach the perfect intricate build up, you can coach the perfect patterns, but if you don't have guys who can put the ball in the net, all of that shit means nothing. And this is what, overall, our game state, I think we're very good. I think what Arteta does incredibly well. We're well organized, we're well structured. Our game state is very good at penning teams in, boxing teams in. But a lot of the time, especially in the final third, it's very sterile. Nothing's happening. We're funneling it out wide. the wingers might be double marked. They try and shift it to the left centre mid, the right centre mid. They're trying to, either hook a half space cross to the back post. But I just think there's a lack of just ingenuity. And what frustrates me is that Arteta played in teams that used to play against low blocks. Like, this isn't like, don't get me wrong, at no point am I trying to denegate crossing. Crossing has its value, but it's not the only form and method to try and be creative. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like we need to be a bit more willing to take some more risks. And that's what really kind of upsets, I think, some people from what they watched in 22-23 to now. And obviously people say, teams didn't play the same against us back then, and I take that point to an extent, but we didn't need to revise it as much as we have. Like, I think we're a very strong, resolute defensive team, but I've never seen an Arsenal team that's so devoid of creativity. Our midfielders include guys like Marino, Norgard. I love Rice, don't get me wrong, but he's not creative. Havertz, when he drops in there's a real lack of creativity. That's just the reality of what we have. So it is sad. I think I saw one tweet that were like, what frustrates me, I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing, is like, you watch Arsenal and there are some days they're just not going to score. That's why I said, like, today, like, I think we could have played another 2 hours and we weren't going to score. So I think that's what's really, really frustrating for me. And when I say even just moving apart from the signings, I need to see other avenues of how we're going to create. What are our consistent methods of chance creation? I know at the moment, we sometimes, like the wingers, they'll get to the byline, they'll cut it back in settle play. We'll try the half space cross, but some more combinations would be nice. Getting the midfielders,
Question, Sean. Do you think that we work hard enough in terms of when we're actually on the ball, right? So obviously the system, everyone talks about, Odegaard pressing, Havertz pressing, the amount of ground that he covers, this, that, and the other, right? And one of the things that I notice is that I feel like we don't move enough to create options for the man on the ball to be able to play things quickly, right? So, like, when I think it's I don't want to just keep talking about Wenger, but say someone like Sarri when he came into the league. Yeah, I think one of the things that I noticed is that there was I can't even remember. I think it was quite a positional type style of football. This and the other, Jorginho in the six, this and the other. But when I was watching some of his Napoli teams as well, I feel like it was very much like pass and move, with your and that is something we've seen with Klopp as well. That there's always someone making a third man run to try and move people around, create these numerical superiorities when you're attacking this, that, and the other. And some of the best Arsenal goals that you can remember, right? I'm sure we've all seen the comps, Wenger ball. There's that Unai Emery goal against Leicester, this, that, and the other. We never really seem to have any of those moves anymore in this team, right? And that is something that I think has very much been sort of Arsenal's identity. And I feel that it's because we're not actually working hard to provide options and avenues to score or avenues to pass, for the guy on the ball, that when the ball comes into Odegaard, we know that is going to Saka, or it's maybe going back to Partey, or, it's not even a case that it might even from Odegaard. How often does that pass go in central into the striker's feet? It doesn't really. You can say it's because, the space there is blocked, this, that, and the other, but I feel like if people moved and say it's Havertz, say it's Gyökeres, ball comes to Odegaard, Havertz is shown for it immediately, and then he gets it. Odegaard moved for the 1-2, moves for the combination. To your point about seeing more combinations, I feel like we see combinations in one area of the pitch that is on the right-hand side when we've got Saka, Odegaard, Ben White there. There's no combinations anywhere else, right? You might get it in a fluke scenario. I think, who was it that we played? Maybe PSG. Was it PSG or Sporting? I think, where there was that combo where it was like one touch. It ended up with a Martinelli left foot shot, on the volley, if you remember that one. But that doesn't happen anywhere near enough for me, So that that is something that I noticed. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I just feel like because it's so heavily positional, whereas I don't think Wenger wasn't a positional play sort of manager. He was very much, he let the players roam, have freedom in the final third. I feel like the way we attack, we only want to attack in settled play because we attack in a way that if we lose the ball, we can prevent a transition. Now, cool, that's good, like to make sure you're in a position to prevent counter attacks. But I also think you're not doing enough to create danger. To your point, like maybe it does happen like situationally. Because if I think to the Newcastle game, you know, the Trossard had it, he was into Havertz. That was a nice little flick for Marino. So it can happen situationally. But to your point, it doesn't happen anywhere near as much as it can do. So I don't know. I just always feel like when I watch us, like, can we loosen the reins a bit more? Can we have some rotations? We do have it occasionally, but nowhere near as much as I would like. Like it just feels stodgy. It doesn't feel fluid like when you watch it, does it? So and I'm sure people will show me some clips of different rotations that happen, but I don't know, like
That's the
I
thing.
feel like
That's the thing, right?
there's the rehearsed ones and there's just it naturally. I feel like sometimes football isn't something that can be coached defensively in the final third. You've got to allow players the time, that you know, the movement to be able to combine to feel free to float. And my take is always like, and I've always been like this, when you have, in my opinion, an access of like Gabriel, Saliba, and even now Zubamendi and Rice, you can afford to take more risks. You can. So it's just something I'd like to see more of. But yeah, how much of it is like, for me, yeah, if we're going to continue with what we're doing, like, and you're not going to have the freedom, the flexibility in the final third, you need to have ultra peak attackers. Like you like, or you know, when Liverpool under Klopp, right, when they had like Henderson, Wijnaldum, and like Fabinho, that was their midfield three. Horrible midfield three. Zero creativity in that whatsoever. But you knew what their function, Cougs, was, right? Their function was to shuffle across. They would cover the flanks for when Trent and Robertson bombed on, and their front three basically didn't track back. Do you know what I mean? So there's different ways to have it. Cool. Like if you're saying that you don't want your midfield to be overly creative and you want it to be functional, then brother, you need to have a super peak attack, or you need to have, you know, like someone like, you know, an elite creator like Trent. So I don't know, man. I feel like it's much of a muchness with us, man. I just don't. It's the same thing. We don't have enough Mavericks. We don't have enough X factor, enough creativity. And like I said, if you just want to focus it on the front three, then you need to buy better front three players. Do you know what I mean? So because there's not enough danger happening. I'm at the point now where, bro, I've been saying that I don't want to see Madueke. I want to see Madueke now, bro, because
Bro,
I'm tired of everything else I've been watching. And I never thought I'd be in that position.
I was literally saying to my boy, yeah, that, you know, Madueke has played himself into a starting left wing spot without playing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, like just by default, I'm watching Martinelli, I'm watching Trossard, and I'm saying, good grief, you know, good flipping grief. Yeah, this cannot be my portion in life. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Madueke, if that is going to be the, you know, attacking signing, third attacker signing that we make, we've actually only signed 2 attackers, yeah, so far this window, in Madueke and Gyökeres. So, boy, he needs to slap. He absolutely needs to slap. He needs to slap. I'm not sure even when he's linking up with the team. Probably this weekend once they're back in England. And then
I think they're flying because obviously in Hong Kong they're like 7 hours ahead. So I think after it was like quite late when the game finished. So they're flying back on like Friday. So tomorrow, you know, and then they got Saturday and Sunday off probably to like acclimatize back from like jet lag in it. And I think Arteta said they're back in training on Monday. So
I
yeah.
think Wednesday is the first game from
Listen,
Emirates Cup, right? So
public service announcement. I'm taking my son to his first Arsenal game next week, bro. You might need to give him some excitement, bro. I can't. I need to, you know.
You need
listen,
to see it. We need to see this.
I need to see the York celebration. My son needs to see excitement, bro. You can't be serving my son up for what I saw today, bro. Otherwise, my son's gonna tell me you don't want to go back to the Emirates again, and that's gonna break my heart, bro. So listen, they need to show me something.
Yeah, for real, man. So there are a few questions, but one thing that we should mention is that, you know, Gyökeres did come on to make his, you know, debut, as it were, off the bench, had one touch of the ball in about the 12 minutes that he played. Nothing really to say about that at all. Other signing that I do want to shout out is Zubamendi. Watching him for Sociedad, I was less than moved. For Spain, I was a bit more moved. We did the review, we did the tapes. I was even more moved. Seeing him in an Arsenal shirt, I'm saluting him, Sean. I'm really saluting him. I think this guy looks absolutely mustard. He looks fantastic. And I think our fortunes, as I said at the top of the pod, are tied so closely to how not just him, but how all of these signings bed in. And I think he is top of the list, to be honest, just in terms of getting us playing quickly, playing at speed and knowing when to be able to slice teams, to be honest. So yeah, I do really like the look of him. He did only play like 15 minutes in this game, but when he came on, it was pretty much one-way traffic in the second half, but it just became boom. We're playing in not just in their half, but in their final third kind of stuff, you know. So yeah, big shout out to Zubamendi. So how much are you liking his performances so far?
Yeah, similar to you. I was so anti this brother about 18 months ago. I'll be real with you. When I watched him for Sociedad, La Liga, Champions League, I was like, I just don't see what I'm supposed to be seeing. I'll be real with you. But I one thing that I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to take on board when I'm analysing players is that how they play for their current club might not be how they play for us. So, you know, you've got to look at how they might fit into our system. And I think watching him play for Spain was a much greater analog of what he would look like at Arsenal. I feel like, obviously not that way you wish injury, but the Rodri injury was a blessing in disguise because we probably got to see Zubamendi a lot closer up, like with like obviously for Sociedad it's there, but with Spain, like with top class teammates alongside him. And I've really started to see the value add. Like, I think, you know, to quote German, we talk about operation speed, 1-2 touch, like, and it was noticeable, like the difference with all due respect to Norgard. Norgard takes like 4 or 5 touches. Zubamendi, the ball's in, the ball's out, the ball moves quickly. He has a good selection of passes. Sometimes it's wide, sometimes it's a quick line breaker. He's got a good variety of selection, and it's, you know, he's not a flashy player, but I think just the footballing IQ is top, and it's a great selection a pass that he has. So I think he offers central access. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, I feel like our fortunes, his ability to probably bring in the attackers is vital. Get us playing is vital. Like, I have a feeling at some stage we're going to be like, bro, this brother's legs are going to fall off at some stage this season with the amount they're going to rely on him. And to be fair, I now understand why Arteta wanted this brother so heavily and has chased him for so long. I get it. Like, I proper get it. He's a serious player, man.
Agreed, man. Agreed. So yeah, we do have a couple of listeners' questions. We'll try and hit these before we wrap up. So Joey Sants UK, he says, do you think we'll see any tactical surprises from Arteta this season, or do you think he will stick with the same ideas but with new personnel?
We've kind of touched on it already, right? We've spoken about, like, we'd like to see a bit more tactical evolution in how we attack, in how we create. I've not seen much, like I said, apart from us willing to go from back to front a bit quicker. I'd like to see a bit more. Maybe the evolution is contingent on getting some more new forwards in, but for me it's kind of like, well, what if these forwards get injured? Because they will miss game time at some stage. I don't think it should be reliant on, it should be personnel specific. Like, obviously, like, you can't replace the top personnel, but I think you should still have some of those patterns in place. So let's see, man. Let's see. I think we will get a greater idea next week against Villarreal and Bilbao. I think those games will tell us a bit more, right? Because Gyökeres would have had more sessions under his belt. Madueke will be in. So we'll see a bit more. And I think, you know, we haven't really seen Zubamendi and Rice play together so far. So I'm expecting for the Villarreal and Bilbao games, they will start. So we'll see what that looks like. And hopefully it yields something positive. You're on mute, bro.
Sorry, one of the things that I've noticed this pre-season is that there have been times, and I think in the first half, I think that would have probably suited Gyökeres's style a little bit more, just how direct we were in playing over Spurs' press. Second half, they didn't really try to press us at all, so we didn't really see that. But we were getting joy in this match and against Newcastle from when they press us high, we were going direct quite often. In the Spurs game, I would have liked to see us try and play through midfield a little bit more. Like we said, some of those passing combinations that we've not really seen as commonly as we have since 22-23. And at periods in 23-24. Don't think we saw it at all last season. But I think some of the direct play should be hopefully a new weapon for us, right? I think that was one of the big asks from last season, is that, you know, in comparison to maybe Liverpool, some of the old Man City teams, when you've seen Edison go from back to front very quickly when the opportunity arises. I feel like we've not done that enough, really, to kind of release our attackers when they're already high in the pitch, right? And have more effective counter-attacks that way. So that is one thing that I am hoping we can see. You look at some of the signings, Madueke, Gyökeres, maybe Eze, if we do land him. You know, Fabrizio saying that he is our number one target now. Multiple people saying there's club-to-club talks. So if we do get him, the sort of the profiles that we're linked to here, they have been playing transition-based football, highly effective in transition-based football. So, you know, hopefully that should allow us to have, you know, another string to our bow in terms of how we can, you know, kill teams, how we can hurt them. So next question from J9OB. He says, has the copium for a new left winger alongside Eze disappeared, or are the panels still hopeful?
Right, to be fair, after we signed Madueke, I knew we weren't going to get another winger, so it was always just an attacker. So, you know, in an ideal world, you would have bought Eze and then maybe like a Rodrigo or a Leao. That's where I think we would have had the real upgrade. But it is what it is. Madueke's here now. Got to hope he does well. Got to hope he brings chaos. I'm legit willing him to bring chaos because we need it in that attack. It's so dry and sterile. So let's see, man. I know we're only getting, to be fair, let me be honest, actually, I was quite shocked because at the start of the summer, I only thought we'd get two attackers. Like legit, I thought we'd get a left winger and a striker. We've had two attackers so far, a striker and someone who can play both wings, and we're trying for a third. So I'm not angry at it. Sorry, I'm not mad at it. I'm actually happy at it, but I just would have done different personnel. So it is what it is. We're not getting, people need to let go. We're not going to sign another two attackers. It will just be one. Who it is remains to be seen. It looks like Eze, although I saw the, you know, you saw the Sammy news where it said it expires tomorrow, right? So the clause expires 2 weeks before the season starts. So yeah, boy. So now we're into the case of if we want him, gonna have to negotiate. And maybe that's what they wanted. I don't know. Maybe that's what Berta wanted. I don't know. But listen, I need him, bro. I need Eze more than you can believe, bro.
Yeah. I need him is crazy, bro.
I need him. The way I read my daily devotion in the Bible, I need Eze like that, bro. I'm telling you, bro. I need it, bro.
Oh my god,
bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. You know, you seen that meme? Yeah. I can't co-sign that, big bro, but I'm not mad at you for saying it. You know?
You can co-sign it, bro. This is like when the Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, bro. It's needed, bro. We need
that signing. We need that signing. We need that signing. I'm putting it below my devotional, though. You hear me? Yeah.
Listen, God, you know my heart in it, bro. Hey yo, I'm
that's so funny. Yeah, that's the pod title there, I think, to be honest. But yeah, so you know, for me, yeah, I think you're right. That signing is imperative, and do you know what it is? Is I'm with you in the sense that, you know, earlier in the window there was absolutely no talk about signing and attacking mid. But you've been part of the discussion in the group. I've been saying that, look, it's not just striker and left winger. We need another attacking midfielder there. And that's me, massive fan of Ethan, this, that, and the other. But it's like, I need two of them on the pitch at certain times, because fundamentally, for me, I can see Eze playing out on the left for sure. Yeah, fine. But in games like today, Rice was so redundant playing in that sort of left half space, this, that, and the other, when the other team is not even trying to play us. So, in games like today, I actually want to see a Madueke on the left. I want to see Eze in the midfield with the DM, whether that's Rice, whether that's Zubimendi, with Odegaard, so that, we've got two sides of the pitch that are functional, that are dangerous, that can create something, and that can affect the opposition's final third, and that really actually pushes teams back quite a lot. And they're scared, they fear Eze when he's on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? They fear a Madueke, even without necessarily the end product and all of this. You can't leave him alone, because he will blam your defender. You get what I'm saying? He can beat your defender 1v1. So you have to put two guys out there. You get what I'm saying? So, for all intents and purposes, I need to see some of these guys come in. So Derry Stratton, he says, this is an absolutely ridiculous, nonsensical question here. Yeah. So he says, should we avoid players that rely on black spray, as they are likely to avoid... As they are likely to avoid headers. Gabriel scored 10 plus headers since Turkey, but only had a few when using spray. Should hairline assessments be part of players' medicals? And should the club employ a use spray, no play policy? Yeah,
I feel like this is a brazy question, but I feel like Gabriel was the only one who got the black spray, but I don't remember any of the others getting that thing, bro.
I have no idea who they're referring to.
Right, I don't know who they're referring
and
to.
Also,
that's
Gabriel
crazy.
scored bare headers in his first season as well, pre-Turkey with the spray.
Pre-Turkey,
I remember there was a goal he scored where he even messed up his spray.
So.
That's funny, but that's
crazy
absolutely
question,
nonsense. Yeah. Camtana 25, he says, does Arteta have any answers? We might be cooked. Boy, we've discussed that one, man. So
we're gonna find out. We are gonna find out,
man. Count Draxula, he says, how can we be so sure that the issue with our attack is totally related to the personnel and not the coach? We're in phase 8 and Arteta still doesn't know how to break down a mid block. There are teams with worse players than us. Yes, even worse than Kai, in brackets, that can break them down. Boy, we said
like it's not just signings alone that are going to change it. Like, obviously they will help, but we need. I would like to see an involvement of how we attack. So I think we sort of touched on that earlier, man. So yeah. And you're right. I don't know how you man keep adding these phases, bro. I don't know how I thought we were at phase 5, bro. Man said phase 8.
Well, we're just doing it the same as the MCU. Whatever the MCU's on, that's what we're on. Yeah? That's it. So, so I am Mr. Lex. He says it's a lot of the similar question. I think a lot of the sentiment is pretty similar after watching that game. Salam Brothers is from I'm Mr. Lex. He says, if tactics and style won't be changed by the gaffer, have we got the players that can make a difference in build-up on their own? Left-hand side still looks to be an issue. Also, surely we play a double pivot of Rice and Zubi going forward.
Yeah, hopefully, bro. I don't really disagree with much of what you say. Seeing Rice so high up, it legit upsets my spirit, bro. I don't know why we have one of the best ball winners in the world, one of the best guys at transitioning with the ball in the world, cosplaying as Iniesta, bro. It just upsets my spirit, bro. Like, it does. Like, he in the first half, he was so far away from Norgard, bro. Don't get me wrong. I thought Norgard stunk up the pitch. I don't think he offered anything in possession, but maybe having just someone next to him. Obviously, I know some would say Zinchenko's inverted next to him, Rice, but I just think we could adapt that. When we talk about offering solutions, like for example, if we sign Eze and plan to let him play from the left, I don't want to see Rice that high up, bro. I'd like to see Rice deeper and let Eze have freedom of the left, bro. Start wide, but freedom to move inside. Anyway, I digress, bro. But yeah, the way seeing how we're using him, you can't tell me this is the most effective way to use my man, bro. I struggle with it. I struggle with it big time.
Yeah. I think the next match, Emirates Cup, 2 weeks away from the season starting, I would very much like to see Rice, Zubimendi midfield, and I'd like to see it as more of a double pivot than standing high, because Zubimendi likes to join the attack a little bit, not necessarily bombing forward on beyond the last line, but he likes to stand ahead of Odegaard to receive and then play it again.
He even defends very high, like starting position to defend very high. It's kind of like if the ball breaks down, he wants to be quick to win it, which I understand. He's probably not someone who wants to get involved in a transition race. So how he positions himself is to try and win it back early. So he either wins it or you commit the foul and just give away a free kick. So you don't let them transition in it. So yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So next question from Rackmatic says, I'm not concerned with the final score for today's game. I'm looking into the creativity of the team. We had lots of the ball, but didn't do much with it. Does Arsenal have a creativity problem in line with our possession-based football? I think we've covered that to a large extent, to be honest.
We do. I agree with you, brother. I think fundamentally Arsenal do not create enough. When I look at the guys who top the big chances missed column, it's Haaland and Salah, and that's fine. Like, attackers are going to miss chances, but you know why it doesn't matter for those teams? Because they're creating at volume. They're creating so much. Like, the games we used to have under Wenger where you're like, we used to batter them, hit the post, hit the bar, and then we might concede a counter and we lose 1-0. But you're like, you know what? Those days can happen. I can make peace with those days. Like I said to you, Cougs, earlier, if Vicario was making bare saves and we lost to that Sar goal, I'd be like, do you know what? That can happen. Whatever in it. But we didn't. Did Vicario have a serious save to make in the whole game? He didn't. And that's what I struggled to. I can't really get over. Do you know what I mean? Because you've not done enough. And I made a point last season that I felt like we drew 14 games last season. I felt like too many goalkeepers we played against had an easy day. Too many centre backs last season had an easy day. They played with their slippers on. There were Tarkowski and I don't know who his partner was. Came to the Emirates, it was 0-0. We didn't stress them enough. Jordan Pickford, T-Rex arms, didn't stress him enough. So, like I said, more dynamism, more X factor, more shooting, more creativity, everything. The attack needs to be peppered up, bro. Because if I was to ask you, Cougs, where you rank us amongst the top 6 for attack, I don't know, bro. I feel like a lot of the top 6 have more threatening attackers than we do, and I can't countenance that, man, and that's upsetting. I think they have more threatening attackers, but they also have managers that platform the attackers better as well. So I should say that.
Yeah. The final few questions, they're all pretty much talking about creativity, talking about our attack. But one interesting one from Rackmatic here, he says, do you think Saka will exceed his goals and assists from 2 seasons ago? He's been doubled. I think he got 16. Oh, no, he got 20 goals and 16 assists in all competitions, right? Which is very good from him. I think that was 16 in the Premier League and 4 in the Champions League, goals wise. And I don't know what the split was for his assists. But do you think he'll exceed that from 2 seasons ago? He's been doubled and tripled up, which would lead to less goals and more pre-assists. Pens will also be taken away from him. What's our expectation of him this season?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he could definitely put up numbers if we add more overall threat. If the left side is more dynamic, if Gyökeres scores like we hope he will, that will free up Saka to be more dangerous. So, but at the same time, we don't know whether altering our attack, which I'm calling for, might have an impact on he might become more of a creator than a scorer, because when you have a majority scorer like Gyökeres, they do tend to take up the majority of the goals, so that might change maybe some of the spaces Saka gets to attack, because we know Gyökeres likes to attack the inside channels, both on the left and right side, to get shots off. So I don't know. It's one to watch, but he should still be getting double figures for both, in my opinion. How high it goes after that will remain to be seen, dependent on what Gyökeres does as well. So yeah, I don't know if I can put a number on it so far, but if Gyökeres does numbers, then that might impact him overall. But he should still put upside, man. Double figures for both.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think in the league, I think he should be aiming for 10 to 15 goals still. Fundamentally, he is that good a player that he should be doing that. He had 5 goals. He scored 6 goals in the league last season whilst missing 4 months, and he wasn't even very prolific in front of goal, sort of goal scoring wise, for the half season that he was fit for. All competitions, I think he still got 10 goals last year. I think he scored 5 in the league, 5 in the Champions League as well. So I think he scored 11 all comps, if I'm not mistaken. So he really should be trying to hit the 15 plus, whether he's doubled or tripled or not. I don't really care. Saka has got responsibility to be our probably chief creator, and supplementary goal scorer. And I think with that in line, he should be aiming for the 15.
And even with that, you should still. I always remember Pires and Lundberg used to add 5 goals to their tally each season just by attacking the back post. You saw in our first game against AC Milan, right? I think the Kivior half space cross, Saka's coming in at the back post goal. It's an easy source of goals, man. Easy source of goals, especially with how much we flash the ball across the goal. And there's no one ever attacking it. Easy source of goals, man. So yeah, still 100%.
Yeah. So, guys, that was the pod for the week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Our next game is in just under a week's time, I think.
Yes,
playing
Wednesday.
Was it Villarreal, right? So that'll be at the Emirates Cup. So yeah, I think there's still tickets being sold for that. So that should be a nice day for you, Sean, taking your boy. Hope it's a dub. Very, very, very good time. I remember the first time I went to the Emirates was Emirates Cup as well. I think Arshavin scored on that day we beat Atletico Madrid, I want to say, on that day. So yeah, man, hope he enjoys it. Hope he enjoys it. Listeners, hope you enjoyed the pod. We'll be back I think at some point this weekend.
It's a legacy game for my son, bro. Don't put my son off supporting the club for forever, bro. It's a legacy game for my son. I'm letting these men know.
Legacy game, man. We'll be back. We'll be doing a Miles Lewis Skelly scouting piece, which should be out this weekend. So keep your ears peeled for that eyes peeled for that on the Patreon. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys soon, man. Peace.
Yo, when I spit bars in a raid, man, I go hard, last stand.